The price of red frost. The moon was a fractured disk in the sky, painting the forest with long, twisted shadows. The air, thick and humid, smelled of damp earth and something else. Something rancid and primeval that raised the hairs on Adrian's neck. His steps, resolute but trembling, guided him toward the heart of the forest, toward the place where legend intertwined with the darkest reality. Adrian, barely 20 years old, carried on his shoulders the weight of a heinous injustice. His family, stripped of their inheritance and humiliated to the core by the greed of an unscrupulous magnate, had been reduced to ashes. Impotence gnawed at him. The desire for revenge was an icy fire that burned within his gut. And he was willing to do anything, even seal a pact that would damn him forever. The legend of the stone altar had echoed in his ears since childhood. A cursed place, whispered about by the village elders, where an ancient demon patiently awaited the offering of a desperate soul. A price in exchange for power, a pact sealed in blood. As he ventured deeper into the forest, the vegetation grew denser, the branches of the trees intertwining like bony fingers, blocking the moonlight. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the crunching of leaves beneath his feet and the furious beating of his heart. An ancient, visceral fear began to take hold of him. Finally, he found it. The stone altar, a dark and rugged mass, stood in a clearing bathed in the spectral light of the moon. The stone, covered in moss and lichen, seemed to pulse with a dark, latent energy. At its center, a circular concavity appeared to wait, thirstily, for the promised offering. Adrian took a black-handled knife from his backpack, its blade gleaming with a menacing edge. He gripped it firmly, feeling the cold metal against the palm of his hand. He hesitated for a moment, a last glimmer of sanity fighting against the blind fury that consumed him. Was he really willing to cross that line, to sell his soul for revenge? He closed his eyes, gritted his teeth, and recalled the image of his parents, dejected and humiliated. The icy fire burned fiercely once more, consuming all doubt. With a guttural cry, he made a deep cut in the palm of his hand. The blood, dark and thick, gushed from the wound, staining the stone a deep red. Adrian felt a sharp pain, but he ignored it, focused on the task at hand. He let the blood flow freely, filling the concavity of the altar. The forest held its breath. The air crackled with a palpable electricity. A cold wind, like the breath of death, began to blow through the trees. Suddenly, the stone vibrated. A deep, guttural sound, like the roar of an ancient beast, emanated from its depths. The blood in the concavity began to bubble, releasing a dense and fetid vapor. Adrian felt a paralyzing terror. His legs trembled, his lungs refused to function. But he could not tear his gaze from the altar, hypnotized by the macabre scene unfolding before his eyes. The vapor condensed, taking shape. A humanoid figure, tall and skeletal, began to emerge from the blood. Its eyes, two incandescent embers, gleamed with an unfathomable evil. Its claws, sharp as knives, reached out toward Adrian, craving his flesh. "Your vengeance shall be mine." Adrian felt a chill run down his spine. The voice not only echoed in his ears, but also in his mind, in his soul. It was a promise, but also a condemnation. The demon extended a bony hand toward Adrian. In its palm, an engraved rune glowed with a red and pulsating light. "Seal the pact, mortal. Accept my gift, and your vengeance will be consummated." Adrian, despite the terror that gripped him, nodded his head. There was no turning back. He had crossed the Rubicon, sold his soul to the devil. He took the demon's hand. Instantly, the rune was engraved on his skin, an infernal tattoo that would mark him forever. An agonizing pain swept over him, as if 1,000 burning needles pierced his flesh. When the pain ceased, Adrian felt an immense force coursing through his body. A dark and corrupt power that filled him with a perverse euphoria. He was capable of anything. "What do you desire, mortal?" asked the demon, his voice now imbued with a strange satisfaction. Adrian raised his gaze to the sky, to the fractured moon that watched him in silence. His voice, though trembling, resonated with an implacable determination. "I want him to suffer. I want him to feel the same pain that my family felt. I want to see his empire crumble, his reputation shattered, his life reduced to ashes." The demon smiled, revealing sharp, yellowed teeth. "So it shall be. Your vengeance will be my work." And so began Adrian's revenge. With the demon's help, he unleashed a storm of misfortunes upon his enemy's life. His businesses failed, his health deteriorated, his family fell apart. Each day that passed, the magnate suffered a greater torment. Adrian watched from the shadows, enjoying the macabre spectacle. Revenge was sweet, but also bitter. Every time he saw his enemies suffer, he felt a greater void within himself. The power he had obtained in exchange for his soul was corrupting him, turning him into something monstrous. But he could not stop. He was trapped in the pact, doomed to continue until the end. Finally, the day came when the magnate, reduced to a homeless beggar, took his own life. Adrian felt a strange mix of satisfaction and disappointment. He had achieved his revenge, but at what price? Upon returning to the stone altar, he found the demon waiting for him. Your vengeance has been consummated, mortal. Now it is time to pay the price. Adrian felt a cold terror take hold of him. He knew this moment would come, but he had hoped to find a way to avoid it. What is the price? He asked, his voice barely audible. The demon smiled. Your soul, of course. But you already knew that. What you didn't know is that your soul is not enough. Adrian frowned, confused. What do you mean? The demon approached him, his icy breath brushing his face. I want your future. I want your potential. I want everything you could have been if you hadn't turned to me. Adrian felt an indescribable horror. He had sold his soul for revenge, but now he realized that he had lost much more. He had lost his chance to be happy, to love, to live a full life. The demon extended his hand toward him. Surrender your future, mortal. And I will let you live the rest of your days in peace. Adrian closed his eyes, feeling the tears run down his cheeks. He had no choice. He had made his bed, now he had to lie in it. With a resigned sigh, he took the demon's hand. In that instant, he felt as if his entire life was extinguished. All his hopes, his dreams, his aspirations, vanished like dust in the wind. He was left empty, hollow, a soulless shell. The demon smiled, pleased. Thank you, mortal. You have made a good deal. And with those words, he disappeared in a cloud of smoke and sulfur. Adrian was left alone on the stone altar, under the fractured light of the moon. He had achieved his revenge, but he had lost everything else. He knelt on the stone, feeling the cold penetrate his bones. He no longer felt anything. Neither joy, nor sadness, nor hope, nor despair. Only an absolute void. He raised his gaze to the sky, to the stars that shone distant and cold. And he understood, with a painful clarity, that the true price of revenge was not blood, but the loss of oneself. He had won the battle, but he had lost the war. His soul, his future, his humanity, all had gone with the demon. Only the red frost of his pact remained, a constant reminder of his fatal mistake. And with that thought, Adrian collapsed on the stone altar, dying slowly, in a dark and forgotten forest, a soul lost